What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the Kojima conspiracies floating around the internet again. This started from Sony. There's really no way to deflect the blame away from them, and it's not a bad thing. No, they updated basically their banner, the PlayStation Studios banner, and they did more than one thing with it, right? That's kind of the thing that I want to laser focus on, because it's not just putting Death Stranding in the place of Concrete Genie. Okay, so that's the first thing. So you look at the picture, you see everybody, right? And you look at the far left, and there's our main man, Norman Reedus, right? And they also changed the cover athlete for MLB The Show. Now, I don't watch baseball, so I don't know who either of them are, but I know it was changed. I believe Aloy, for sure, Aloy was changed as well from her original look to now looking like this, which is more like a Horizon 2, almost like a concept arty, maybe not concept, but, just a different kind of look. So I believe those are the three main changes. Now, I believe the person on the far left, or what it used to be, was Concrete Genie. I also believe, though, and I guess this is what Push Square says, it was used for Sackboy at some point. Now, I don't know where Sackboy was, or, what he was replaced with or whatever, but I guess it was used by him as well. Now, in my opinion, there's only two ways this goes, and I think people are kind of with me on this in general. So it can either be games or properties that are kind of owned by PlayStation, right? The one thing that every single one of these games has in common is they're a PlayStation-owned thing. So while Kojima is not a PlayStation-owned company, or Kojima Productions, Death Stranding is, right? Kojima can't do a Death Stranding 2 or Death Stranding in general. Again, that right is with Sony, okay? So that makes sense, and that makes sense for all of these games. That's the one thing they all have in common. The second thing all of them have in common, except for, the far left, is they're all owned, the studios, they are all owned by PlayStation. And I guess what's weird about it is that the one that was there, Concrete Genie, is not a studio owned by PlayStation, right? Now, you could say, well, it was replaced, like one studio not owned by PlayStation, swapped to another studio not owned by PlayStation. I guess, here's the deal. I guess I should probably say this. I don't necessarily want Kojima to be bought by anybody, the independence kind of thing. Now, he fought for that. Hideo Kojima fought for that. And, after all the stuff Konami pulled, would he even want to be bought in the first place? That's obviously that's a question in general. But, I'm going to stay firm on my decision-making, or my moral standpoint that I've said before. I don't love all of these companies, being bought up in 3 to 5 different companies, Sony, Microsoft, Tencent, and then a couple others, Embracer Group, right? I'm not a big fan of that. So I just want to make that kind of clear. And I just find this very interesting, right? I'm not necessarily saying good or bad. I think this would be good for Sony, just in terms of optics, in terms of what it could do. Is it something I would necessarily want? Well, again, I'm kind of against the idea of buying everybody in the first place, but it's just odd to me. I guess what's odd to me is this. Yes, it is, in general, a one-to-one replacement. Concrete Genie, a PlayStation game, but the studio is not owned by PlayStation. Same thing with Death Stranding, right? So you're replacing the same kind of thing with also the same kind of thing. But the second one is definitely bigger. Now, Death Stranding is not the same as Horizon, God of War, Last of Us, Uncharted. It's not, you know what I mean? By the way, I know, obviously, these are, the ones that are currently ongoing. It sucks not to see Nathan Drake there. But he's not the same, or Death Stranding is not the same as those games. But it is, it is just factually much, much, much bigger than Concrete Genie. Maybe that was the reason, but I guess the thing for me is I just don't, this was an update, and it's not just Death Stranding that was changed, right? Again, MLB was changed, and Aloy was changed, and it's well, why? So this was planned. They're okay, well, let's kind of redo this PlayStation banner thing, and when we do it, we're gonna, we're gonna change a couple of the images for some to make them more up to date, and then we're just gonna completely get rid of one and put Death Stranding on there for some reason. Where it's well, what did Death Stranding do in the past year to, to warrant a swap of a spot? I just don't understand why that happened. Now, you could, of course, go deeper in this conspiracy. I will briefly mention it now. Hideo Kojima has been very weird as of late. Not that that's any different. But, obviously, they're opening up the studio, or a studio, in, I believe, California, right? But that's more of the movie. Remember, he wants to do movies and higher budget-y kind of things. I believe that is that studio. So, but he's working with Sony technology for that studio. So you have that. They closed down, one of them. They're removing in Japan. So, like, you have stuff going on. You could connect it to Hassan, right? Hassan comes out to do interviews around the same time that Kojima is doing all this stuff. I don't know if you want to bring in, Blue Box into it, but you could argue this is the timing is weird, specifically with this PlayStation banner and what Kojima is doing with his offices and expanding and stuff. Like, those two things are factually happening very close to each other. And could it be a coincidence? Of course it could. But could it not be a coincidence? Of course, you know what I mean? So that's it's something I definitely want to keep my eyes on. And also, let me throw in the last thing, okay? Because this is actually one final thing that we've heard recently. I think I've talked about this maybe in a video or on Twitter. The rumor is PlayStation's next buy, or Sony's next buy, is a Japanese company, because it's going to fall outside of this jurisdiction that has to like check to make sure everything's legal and stuff. It falls outside of that, which is, in the middle of the Activision stuff. It was in the middle of other things. So, and that's led to speculation that it'll be a Japanese company. So you have, maybe possibly, half and half, 50% chance, right, that Sony's next big buy is a Japanese company. Now, that doesn't have to mean, Square Enix is Capcom. You can keep going down the line. It doesn't have to mean Kojima, but it's one of them, let's say. Okay, it's one of like 5 or 6. And then you have all this other stuff going on with Death Stranding and the banner and stuff. So it's looking possible. I said this on Twitter yesterday that for no other reason other than to have cocky insiders on Twitter be wrong and have to like defend themselves, I would like this to come true. Because if this happens, the odds of Kojima making a Xbox exclusive game, as they say, would not happen, right? And again, like, I'm not saying anything is right or wrong. I'm just saying, some of these people I'm not the biggest fans of, and they like to be very, they know everything. They're so, they're so enlightened. I like them to be wrong, because then they have to like double back and be like, well, I didn't, things happen. Like, things can change like one day to the next. I love them doing that. So anything to have that happen to some of these people is okay by me. So, you know what? Happened just for that. That's my own personal entertainment. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on so you know when all these videos go up. If you want to follow me anywhere else, all my social media is in the description below. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you guys on the next video.